good to have you in the rig with us, coming down the road. This Friday edition of News and Views is something that, quite frankly, we're going to give you a little flavor of everything. Some football, some baseball, but first we have to head to our nation's capital. Chris Runge has been a friend for a long time. She's someone that I've counted on for advice, for her knowledge, and quite frankly, one of the hardest working people I know. She's from Dickinson, North Dakota, but you know what? Now she's living in Washington, D.C. Let's bring her in. Chris, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hi, Joel. Great to see you.
Let's talk about it. This rally that's going to be going on in D.C., this G6, Justice for G6 rally. What's the mood? What's the mindset in D.C.?
I think it's pretty quiet at this point. I think people are not going to go around the Capitol tomorrow. Nobody's going to be at the Capitol. The Senate and the House are out. So it'll be all but deserted around the Capitol tomorrow.
So a lot of people are predicting that. They really are. But yet the fences went up. There's talk about, the National Guard's role. Is this just something that the Capitol Police, could you imagine being the Capitol Police and trying to go to sleep tonight? I mean,
yeah.
Is this just something that we're getting very prepared for just in case?
We are absolutely not going to allow what happened on January 6th will not happen tomorrow. We are not playing tomorrow. Our city will be safe. People are more than welcome to protest. But what happened on January 6th will not happen again in our city.
So I think it was really low profile until it reached kind of a higher pitch when the president released his statement and basically applauded and encouraged these individuals and felt that there was injustice for those people that had basically broke the law on January 6th. I mean, look at the statement that the president has. Our hearts and minds are with the people being persecuted, Chris. So unfairly related.
They're nothing more than insurrectionists and terrorists.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they are. And that's what they have to be called. And the people that want to support them, they are sympathizers for insurrectionists against our country.
And I would add one more thing, since this word's being thrown around so easy. I'd add traitors.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I find it interesting that not a single one of those people in the House or the Senate are going to be around tomorrow. Not one are going to join the protest tomorrow. Not one.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that some of the more outspoken House members that have sat there, ones that have been kicked out of the committee, almost kicked out of their caucus, some that have, sat there and taken a lot of pride of tying a gun to their leg and supporting the president. Why do you think they're not showing up?
I think the word has gone out from McCarthy and McConnell about the 2022 election, and they don't want this, if there's any violence tomorrow, to be hung around their necks, which it would be.
Let's get to the big lie itself, because that seems to be what's driving this. I don't believe it's about those people that are still sitting in jail, haven't made bail, or those individuals that have been charged and are awaiting trial. I think this is more about the focus on the big lie. Do you still see and hear a lot of people in D.C. talking about that? You are in the nation's capital. You are where politics is being discussed each and every day. You see the congressional staffers from the Republican side of the aisle. Are they perpetuating this? Are they letting it still go to that high pitch?
I think they are perpetuating it by not calling it the big lie and not calling them out on it. The Republican Party will never be the same party until they take it back and until they admit the big lie and they call it out and they stand up like, and she's not my favorite person, Congressman Cheney from Wyoming or Adam Kinzinger, but they did the right thing. And they stood up. They stood up for their country. And I don't agree with them politically, but God bless them for standing up. And more should have done that.
This is the way I take in polling data. You coming from Dickinson, you know how politics work in North Dakota. We're a very red state. But for the last 3 days, I was at Big Iron. And a big iron is this melting pot of very, very conservative people, but from all over. And the one thing that I was looking for all those Make America Great Again hats. Those, the election was stolen. Those, you saw some, but in the whole 3 days of Big Iron, I know exactly how many I saw. I saw 4. And, I've been going to Big Iron a lot of years. And 4 years ago, every third, every fourth person had one on. And I'm wondering if some of the mindset here in the upper Midwest hasn't changed, Chris.
Well, I think I would think people would be tired of the chaos. That's not how we do our work as citizens of this country. We've been traumatized, not just because of January 6th, but we've been traumatized for the last almost 2 years because of COVID and having to lock down and having, almost 750,000 of our citizens die for a reason that we could very easily control. And so I think there's just a lot of trauma out there that and they just want some peace.
Chris, do you think that if those insurrectionists, if they had found their way to Nancy Pelosi, to Mike Pence, that if they would have found their way to them, that they'd be alive today?
No, I think the crowd, look what they did to the police officers, drag them into the crowd. I think once you're in that frenzy and you have mob, there's no turning that back. There's no controlling it. There's nobody in charge. So if they would have gotten in and seen them there, who knows what would have happened? Who knows what would have happened?
I want to go even a step further, back to what you said about Mitch McConnell and McCarthy, the imagery. The support that those insurrectionists got from the Republicans, from the lead Republicans in the nation, and President Trump and members of their own caucus, speaking at that rally, telling them what to do. We can argue about the verbiage. We can argue about the time. They told them what to do. And so you've got that image going into the next election cycle. But the one thing that I constantly get hit with is that I don't respect the flag. Nothing makes me madder than that. But you look at what the individuals that support Donald Trump did with that flag.
To the police that they support. Yeah.
For McConnell and McCarthy, the image of that alone has to be an albatross around their neck.
Well, I'm also reminded of 9/11. Remember after 9/11 and we almost, we lost 3,000 of our citizens and, Shanksville, that plane was headed for the Capitol and, imagine every single House and senator on the steps of the Capitol the next day singing God Bless America. What would have happened if every single House member and Senate member, no matter what our differences were, on January 6th in the evening, if they would have all stood on the Capitol steps and sang God Bless America, how different our country could have been on January 7th.
I mentioned earlier in our conversation, Chris, that the word traitor is being thrown around a lot. We saw the instability of the president after the election on January 6th, what he did, how he did it, how he brought people to the Capitol, how he surrounded himself with people that would tell him whatever he wanted. Clearly, General Milley, clearly one of the individuals that the right now is basically out to hang. Do you see him as a traitor?
No, absolutely not. I think he did his job. I think that's always been his job. He has dealt with the heads of defense forces around the world in calming them down, not just around January 6th, but around a lot of things. So that's his job. He's the head of the joint. But I think that it's trying to sort of take the pressure off where it should be square. How frightening was it for me to see armed National Guard around my office building 2 blocks from the Capitol, and to see the Capitol just ensconced in razor wire. I've been here for 17 years. Nothing like that has happened. Not even after 9/11.
Well,
not even.
On the morning talk shows on Sunday, I'm watching, and I'm sitting there. Heidi's on Stephanopoulos a lot, so I'm checking that. She's not on. I go back to Meet the Press, which quite frankly isn't as good as what it used to be. But I saw
Yep.
George Will was on there, and so I hung in there with his latest book. He said something to me in talking to the public that connected, which was that fence around the people's house, the Capitol, is appalling. It's wrong. It needs to go away. It needs to be tore down. And I agree, but there's a reason it's there, Chris.
Yep. Yep. It's to protect our way of life. And eventually, hopefully, we'll find our sanity. Thank God, I know people will disagree with me, but Joe Biden is the right man for the job right now.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of conversation that's going on about that. And there's one other factor here, which is, America has been back channeling conversations for a long time. I mean, we put a teletype with Russia, a direct connection, after the Cuban Missile Crisis. So
Exactly.
what General Milley did was not and should not be surprising to anyone.
No, absolutely not. We've done that. Lots of things. I'm sure we did it after World War II and the Vietnam War to get out. I mean, there were lots of times that we needed to talk quietly behind the scenes, and that's not treasonous. That's saving our democracy, and that's what this was all about. And I think, we all knew Trump was an egomaniac, but it was the people around him that enabled him. And quite frankly, he didn't have the best and brightest around him, because nobody would work for him, or he would fire them, because he treated the United States presidency as his private corporation, period.
Well, and let me just say this, you be safe.
I'm safe.
I hope we're right. I hope it ends up being a way smaller crowd than what we saw on January 6th. I think it will be. I think that we are ready for it this time. And it's too bad we weren't last time, but you're my friend. And you live there. You be safe, Chris.
We're safe. Not going into work tomorrow, so we're all good. We're fully vaccinated. We're good.
I'm glad you snuck that in there. Get fully vaccinated. Chris, I love you, man.
We don't mind wearing masks out here.
Yeah.
We do it because we love our neighbors.
Exactly.
And we love our community. And we want the restaurants to stay open. We want to be able to go to plays. We want to do all of those things.
Exactly. Thanks for coming on, Chris. I appreciate it.
You take care, Joe.
You bet.